at these colors. Today I'm creating a bead-woven bracelet using Candy Jade and Miyuki seed beads. So let's jump right in and get started. Just a comfortable amount of thread on my needle, and I'm using the white color today. So I will try to hold everything up a little bit closer so you can see where the thread paths are and everything. But I have basically a wingspan on my thread needle. That's typically what I start off with in bracelets. It may be just enough or it may be too much. We'll see at the end. Alright, so I'm going to start off with one of my 8/0s. I'm going to make this a stop bead. And this stop bead we're going to use in the product. So I'm going to leave about 3 or 4 inches of thread. And I usually just use my watch as a gauge. I pull the thread all the way down to the end of the watch. That way I have enough to where I can come back and tie some knots on this end. We're going to go down the bracelet one time and then pretty much be done. So you'll need to leave enough down here at the end so that way you can come back and tie off this end. So to make a stop bead, we're just going to go back through this bead just one time at the moment. And then that should just help keep that bead down here in the bottom and allow you to be able to hold on to things. Now we're going to pick up one of the pink beads, one of our pink colored Candy Jades, and then another pink bead, and then end with another 8/0. So that's what you have on there so far. We're going to pull this down to the end, and then we're going to go back through everything. So we're going to go back through the 11/0, the pink bead, or the Candy Jade, and then back through the 11/0 again. So we're skipping the 8/0 at the moment. And then when you pull that down, that gets your thread needle back down here towards the beginning. So we're going to wrap through the 8/0 one more time so we can get back up to the 8/0 that we just added. Then go back through your beads one more time, and then end up coming out through your 8/0 this time. So that's how we add the pink Candy Jade. And all I'm doing here is I'm just playing with the bead until it kind of sits like that. Your beads are probably going to end up wonky shaped, where they're going to end up off to the side like this in your bracelet. Or if you decide to make a necklace out of this, it might do that too. You're really not going to notice that too much. I just get it set up this way so that way it's a little bit easier to show you where the thread paths are and everything for the next step. So the next step, we're going to add our yellow Candy Jades. To start that off with, we're going to add 7 of our orange 11/0s. 4, 5, 6, and 7. We're going to add 1 of our 8/0s, 1 of our Candy Jades in the yellow. So I'm just going to call this pink and then yellow. It'll be easier. And then 1 more 8/0. And then I'll pull this down and let you see what I have. There we go. Get it to focus. So we have 7 11/0s, an 8/0, our yellow Candy Jade, and another 8/0. We're going to go back through just the Candy Jade, so just the yellow bead. We're skipping that 8/0 that's sitting there. Make sure it's kind of tight. It doesn't have to be too tight. Oh, and I forgot to go through the other 8/0 on this side. So you want to go back through the Candy Jade and then the 8/0 on the other side. So that way you have an 8/0 sticking out, similar to what we had over here with the pink one. So we should be coming out of the 8/0 on the other side of this. Now we're going to add 7 more of our orange 11s. 6 and 7. Now our thread, and we're going to go back through this 8/0 over here on the other side of the 11s. So our thread is currently coming out of basically the left-hand side of this bead at the moment. So we're going to go from the right to the left. Just like that. And then that puts the 7 11/0s on the other side and kind of makes a little rounded portion like that. So we're going to do this same thing, but we're going to do it on the bottom edge of this. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through those 7 11/0s that we originally put on, the 8/0, the yellow Candy Jade, and then we're going to go ahead and come through the 8/0 on the other side. Once I get my thread unwrapped around my thumb. There we go. And then we're going to come through the 8 on this side. We're going to pick up 7 of our orange 11s. Let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Typically we would add an 8 but we already have one sitting there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this in my hand so it makes a little bit more sense, because this is now going to be basically the bottom part of the bracelet. So I'm just going to go from the right to the left through this 8 up here at the top again. Just like that. Just going through the 8. And then when you pull tight, it should sit your yellow candy jade kind of on its side like that. So now we need to finish out this little arm, so put on 7 more of your orange beads. 5, 6, and 7. Then we're going to go back down this 8 that's sitting on top of the candy jade. But you want to go in this direction. You want to make sure that your 8 are basically sitting in the same orientation as your candy jade, like that. So see how they're sitting on top of each other basically? That's what you want your 8 to do when you have the candy jade here. So there is that part added. So now what we're going to do is we're going to finish, basically do this on this side, and then we'll add another candy jade on this side, on this part right here of the pink one. So, and give me just a moment, and I'll let you get caught up, and then give me just a moment, and we'll be back, and I'll show you that next step. The same thing on this side that we did on this side with our orange beads. So we're first going to start off with 7 11s again, of our orange ones. 5, 6, 7. Go ahead and pick up an 8 this time, and then 7 more orange. 4, 5, 6, and 7. So we have 7 oranges, an 8, and then 7 orange 11s. Now we're currently coming out of this bead right here. Get it to where it can focus. There we go. So we're currently coming out of that bead right there. We want to get down to this one. So we're just going to go straight through all 3 of those beads one more time. Then that's going to put these beads just hanging out just like that, which is perfectly fine because we're about to connect on this side as well. So once you're coming out of the bottom of the yellow candy jade, add 7 more of your 11s. Then we're going to go through this 8 that's sitting up here that we added. And then just make sure everything is somewhat tight. Doesn't have to be uber duper tight, but just tight enough to where you're not seeing any thread paths. And then pick up 4 more of your orange seed beads. Not 4 more, 7 more. 7 more of your orange seed beads. Now we're going to go back through the 8 down here at the bottom, through the candy jade, and back through the 8 at the top. And then when you pull that together, you now have the right side looking just like the left side did. And then there's the top, or the side view of it, and that's what the bottom looks like. So now we're going to have to get ourselves over here. Pretty simple. Just pick out which side you want to go. It doesn't matter, left or right. I'm just going to go down the left-hand side, but go through the 7 11s, and then go through your 8. Now we're set up to add another pink candy jade. So we're going to pick up one of the pink beads, one of the pink candy jades, another pink bead, and then we've got to get our 8 on the other side. So this is what I have on the needle now. So go ahead and pull this down, and this is going to be very similar to what we just did. So we're going to skip over the 8, go back through the 11, the candy jade, and the 11 on the other side. Now my thread is coming out of the, once it focuses, come on, there we go, I think, there we go. So the thread is currently coming out of the 8 on the right hand side right now, so we're going to have to go from the left to the right through this 8 to get a thread path on both sides of the bead, which apparently is a little difficult for me to do right now. I don't know why I couldn't get through that bead. Anyways, so there. So now you have two thread paths going through that bead. Now I need to get back up here to this 8-0, so go back through your 11, your Candy Jade, your 11, and your 8, and now you're set up to start your yellow Candy Jade piece again. So go ahead and get this part done to where you have 2 of your pink Candy Jades and then 2 of your orange or yellow Candy Jades, and then meet me back and then I'll show you how to add this little portion right here. Alright, once you have your 2 pinks and your 2 yellows put together, your bracelet should look something similar to this, or your necklace if you're deciding to do a necklace. So now we're going to put the middle section in, which is going to be this. We're going to start off first with one of our pink beads. And this way we're going to get some pink in the middle part of the bracelet, so that way we don't have pink just along the sides. So we're going to pick up one of the pink beads. We're going to pick up one of the one of the orange drucks that came with the bicone beads in the kit. Pick up with the bicone. The second druck, which is the orange one. Or drook. I'm not sure if it's druck or drook. And then another pink bead. And I'll show you what these look like in just a second. Oh, and then I almost forgot the 8-0. Need an 8-0 at the end also. Okay, now I will show you what it looks like. There. And that's the beads that we have on. We started off with the pink one, put the orange druck on, the bicone, the orange druck, and then the pink again. And if you want to, you can always flip this around. You could put the druck on first and then put the pink bead. It's just sometimes the holes on some of these beads are a little bit larger, so sometimes the 11-0s might kind of sneak into some of these beads. So that's the reason why I put the druck there first. But now we're going to put this one on just like we did with the pink Candy Jade. So we're skipping the 8-0. We're going back through the 11-0, the druck, the bicone, the druck, the 11-0, coming out the other side. Our thread is currently coming out of the right hand side of the 8-0 down over here, so we need to go from the left to the right. And then that way we get a thread path on either side of that bead. So now just do what we've been doing. Go back through all these beads again and get yourself back out to where you're coming out of the 8-0 on the other side. And then that will get you set up to start the next part. Now the next part is going to be another one of our yellow Candy Jades. So basically this is the middle of the bracelet. So now we're going to go backwards. So to start off with the yellow one again, I'll just get you started. I'm not going to do the whole thing with you. To get you started again, it's going to be 7 of our orange beads. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. One of our 8-0s, the yellow Candy Jade, whoops, and another 8-0 on the other side. Just like that. Skip over that 8-0, go back through the Candy Jade and the 8-0 on the other side. And then you add 7 more of your orange seed beads. 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then you go through the opposite direction of your 8-0 over here off to the side. And I'm just going to go straight through those 7 beads, the 8-0, the Candy Jade again, and come out the other 8-0 again. So I'm just going straight through like that. So just getting you started again on that. So if you need to, you can always pause the video here, and then I always have chapters down in the bottom in the description and everything. So if you need to, you can always go back to the previous chapter to see how to get these started again. So go ahead and finish out 2 more of your yellow jade or Candy Jades, and then 2 more of your pink ones, and with the pink one, and make sure you have an 8-0 down here at the bottom. I'll show you how to tie off, and then we'll get our bracelet finished. When you get done with the bracelet, it should look something similar to this if you're following the same pattern. And it is kind of bouncy, so if you do this, you can kind of notice that it does stretch a little bit, so that's a good thing. I'll show you how it looks on my wrist. I wear kind of a small bracelet. It's usually about a 6.5 to 7 inch bracelet is typically what I wear. And then when I hold this tight up against my wrist and then flip it over on the side, on the back, then that's how much room that we have to add our clasp. And we're going to use a toggle clasp today. So for one, if you need to add to your bracelet before I show you how to tie off, You can always add more of your Candy Jade if you want to, so more of the pink ones, more of the yellow ones, whichever. You can add another bicone at the end, you can do that too. But I'll go ahead and show you the necklace that I ended up doing. I did the necklace first. I started off as doing a sample bracelet, and then I was like, well, no, I like it as a necklace. So I went ahead and just kept going. So with my necklace, I did the same thing. The only difference is that I didn't have enough of the drucks left over to have drucks on either side of these. So I just put the pink seed beads on either side of that. But to add on a little bit of extra length, this is all I did here at the end. So it's essentially what we did with the yellow Candy Jade here, adding the seed beads and then adding an 8/0 and then wrapping around and making a loop and then doing the same thing on the back side. So it's essentially the same thing, you just have an 8/0 to go through rather than the 8/0, the yellow Candy Jade, and the other 8/0. And I just did that 3 more times, and it gave the necklace just a little bit more of a length to it. So that's another option for you too, as well, if you would like to get some more length to your bracelet. Alright, so let me show you how to tie off, just in case you're not familiar with that, if you're newer to bead weaving. So I'm currently coming out of the 8/0. Here on the other end. What we're going to do is we're going to go back through a couple of these beads and we're going to make some half-hitch knots. I usually make on bracelets and necklaces at least 3 knots. Sometimes I make more, it just kind of depends. So I'm going back through the 11/0 and the Candy Jade right now, the pink ones. Right here I'm going to make a knot around this bead. So I'm just going to go underneath the bead thread that's sitting there. So it's basically sitting on top of my finger right now. I'm going to make a little loop that may or may not get stuck on your finger. I'm going to make a loop and then I'm going to go through that loop with my needle, and then we're going to pull this down until that loop is in between the Candy Jade and the seed bead. Now you have to make sure that the loop does not go around any of the beads. You want it to sit in between, just like that. So we're going to do that one. Now we're going to go through the 11/0 and see how the 8/0 is kind of sitting on its side a little bit. It's perfectly fine. It's going to happen that way. And then we're going to go through the 8/0, and then I'm going to do another one. So I'm going to pick one of the thread paths because we have four thread paths coming through that 8/0. I'm just going to pick one of them. And I'm going to make a loop just like I just did. Now on this one, I'm going to do 2 passes through this loop. So go through the loop once. Make sure you get your loop pretty close down to the thread. Down here like that. So make it really, really tiny. And we're going to go through that loop one more time. I think that's called a surgeon's knot if I remember right. Now we're going to pull this tight. Just do a quick little pull and pull it tight, and then that puts it back down to those beads. Going to go through these 7 beads. Excuse me. Having a little bit of allergy issues today. Then we're going to do that same type of a knot one more time down here on the other side. So going underneath the bridge thread, going through the knot once, making a really, really tiny, tiny little knot there, or a little circle, and then we're going to go through that knot one more time. And then a quick little sharp pull, and then you have yourself a knot there. Now I'm going to end this by going through the Candy Jade, so go through the 2 8/0s and the Candy Jade in the middle. And apparently it's time to sharpen the claws by Kylie. That's the noise in the background. And then we're going to proceed through. You can go through all 7. I'm just going to go ahead and go through all 7 of these beads. You can go through just a couple if you want to. And then that's where I'm going to burn off. So I'll take my thread burner and burn it down to about an eighth to a 1/16 of an inch, close to where your product is, and then use your thread burner and create a little ball of thread there at the end of the bead. And that will just kind of help it from passing back through the beads and everything. So that is one side complete. So go ahead and put your needle onto our starter thread here on the other side and do the same thing on the other side. Then meet me back and we will complete this bracelet. Alright, so let's get our toggle on. So I've already put one of the jump rings on one side because I wanted to make sure the jump rings fit. So these are actually jump rings that I got from one of my Beads of the Month kits. It's the matte gold kit that I got a couple of months ago. So I'm using the toggle out of this. You have a couple of different sizes of toggles that we got, and then plus the little jump rings that are on there too. And these are 6mm jump rings that are 18 gauge. That's why I was a little concerned. Make sure that they were going to go through our 8/0s. But it seems like it's working just fine. And then I have one of my jump rings sitting off to the side, and I'm using one of the little star charms. And here comes Kylie. Hi Kylie, come on, keep walking. Let's go. Yeah, you have to get on my videos, don't you, kitty cat? Anyways, so I'm going to use one of the star charms in this also, just as a little dangle. So let's open up one of our jump rings. I've already got this one open, and then we're just going to slide this through the end of the 8/0 down here. Oh man, excuse me. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the round portion of the toggle on this side. Now this is another way that you can add just a little bit of length if you need to. You can always use another jump ring here at the end, or you can use of the same size, or you can use a slightly smaller jump ring if you need just a little bit of length left over. So we're going to try it with just one jump ring and see how tight it is. But I am going to put 2 jump rings down here on this side. On the toggle portion, I always like to have at least 2 jump rings on the bar portion of the toggle. I always like to have at least 2 jump rings on that, and that's only so it gives the bar a little extra room to be able to move through the round portion of the jump ring, or of the toggle. Man, words today apparently are not the easiest thing for me to come up with. Alright, so we're going to start off with the 2 and see how that works. And we'll do a little test run, and then if I have to, I can add a second one down here on the other side with the round portion of the toggle. And just making sure these are closed. Alright, so let's do a test and see how this fits. Oh, this is going to fit perfect, I think. I like to have, when I wear toggles on my bracelets, I like to have a little bit of tightness to it, because I always feel like if it's too loose, that it might come off easy, and it's just a perfect size. So that kind of gives you an idea of what that is. I'll get my bracelet mandrel out in just a second and show you the actual size of that. Before I do that, I'm going to put my charm on. I'm just going to use one of the other jump rings, go ahead and put it on the charm right away. I am so not on camera. And then I'm just going to attach it to the round, or to the jump ring over here off of the round side of the toggle. And then I'll get my bracelet mandrel out and we'll measure it and see what the size is, so it gives you an idea of what size this bracelet will be. I'll reach it over here. Put that together. And we'll put it on this. And there you go. That is about the size. Like I said, it's somewhere around 6.5 to 7 inch is usually what I wear, depending on what's going on and everything. So that kind of gives you a size, an idea of what the size of this type of a bracelet would be. So somewhere around a 6.5 inch. So that is our bracelet. And then let me get the necklace back out again so you can look at the necklace, and just in case you need that second little look on how to add some extra seed beads, if you want to do that to add some more length to your bracelet if you need it. I really love how this bead woven bracelet came together using the Candy Jade and the Miyuki seed beads. Let me know in the comments what you think of the color combination, and if you'd like to see more bracelet tutorials like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more jewelry tutorials and beading inspiration.